Yo, what is going on everyone? Guiding Light here back with another first descendant video, and in this one I want to go over the Perforator hand cannon. Now this is actually one of my favorite weapons in the game after finally taking the time to level it up, put in a few crystallization catalysts. I even went as far as putting an energy activator into this weapon after using it for a few days because I was so surprised at just how good and how much fun it was to use. Now, if you guys did not know, they recently put out an update last week which allowed you to now have full auto on your hand cannons and also your burst fire weapons. So no longer do you have to keep spamming the trigger, and that actually does help when making these builds quite a bit. Now, I managed to get a near perfect roll on this weapon, in my opinion, with the increased ATK, weapon change speed, critical hit damage, and additional rounds in the mag. I could have gone for all golds, but I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now with the amount of materials it takes to re-roll an ultimate. But when we come in and look at the crystallization catalyst, these are the sockets I have went with, and there's actually about 2 or 3 different builds which you can go for, and I'll explain the few different changes you can make on this weapon depending on what you're going for. Now, the reason why I have found this weapon to be so incredibly good is the fact that I have actually gotten it to crit at over 3 million damage with the proper build. Now, on top of that, you're never really going to need to do 3 million damage to very many enemies. So it's actually a great weapon for mobbing as well, which is something I was very, very surprised to see. It has around the same time to kill as my Eternal Willpower, which is sitting at well over 600,000 DPS. I didn't think I would ever find a weapon that would actually compare to this Eternal Willpower, and I was actually extremely surprised to see that a hand cannon could keep up with something as good as a assault rifle with a 30 round mag. Now, the reason why I actually enjoy the hand cannons more than the assault rifles is due to the fact that hand cannons offer you the most mobility out of any weapon in the game. Now, there are hand guns which will offer just a little bit more than the hand cannons, but they're still going to offer quite a bit more than assault rifles, SMGs, or anything like that. It's as if you're walking with full brisk walk, the mod which makes you move faster, and you don't even need to actually have it on. So it's actually a great weapon for running a lot of different characters, especially ones like Ultimate Viesa, who have the AoE damage and are pretty much based around using their abilities. I think that this would be a really great thing to use on a lot of different characters, from Freyna, Enzo. I mean, just about any character is going to benefit from running one of these hand cannons. The craziest thing to think about actually would even almost be making a build on Sharon, because she has the ability to go invisible, and when she comes out of invisibility, she can actually do a 100% damage boost. So that means I could actually probably get this crit up to over 6 million damage when running the proper build on Sharon. Now, this is what's so crazy about it, is that if you could already hit 3 million on the base, then if you get a buff from another character, or if you use the proper build on Sharon, you could actually increase this even higher depending on your playstyle and which descendants you like to use. So this weapon offers a lot of versatility. You can use it in just about any mission. There's almost no time that I see any of the enemies taking more than 2 or 3 shots to go down. On top of that, you can actually take it into boss battles, those void intercept battles. And on top of all that, we haven't even gotten into the fact that this is actually an ultimate weapon, which gives it ultimate perks as well. So very quickly, let's talk about the ultimate perks that this perforator has as well. So the best thing about the Perforator is that it says on hitting a weak point, it's going to inflict damage to the enemy shield in proportion to their maximum shield at a set chance. So the stronger the enemies are, the more damage you're actually going to be able to do to their shields. And then it says once the shield is completely depleted, it will actually inflict a stun effect, which is very, very similar to like a freeze effect. I've noticed it's not the same stun effect that you see on Sharon, that when you stun an enemy, it's actually more similar to the stun effect you get when you chill an enemy. So they end up basically freezing up completely, not getting dazed. Now from there, you're actually going to get even more benefits from the weapon as well, allowing you guys to stack up damage even higher. And that's how I end up hitting those crits at over 3 million. Now, if you use this with Sharon, you can very easily get that to over 6 million. Now let's very quickly get into some of the mods I've chosen to put on this weapon. There's a few different builds that I've crafted. One that's going to be just for weak point damage, and the other one that's going to be for overall missions, because the recoil can get a bit out of control on certain builds if you're trying to spam fire the weapon. So this here is the build which has allowed me to hit the 3 million crit on Ultimate Viesa. It's the build I would use if I was trying to get to the 6 million crit on Sharon as well. Now, the reason for this is because we stack up weak point expansion with the weak point sight mod. What this does is it allows you to get a 140% boost to your weak point damage once having this completely maxed out. Now, you may keep in mind here that I actually was not able to fully max out the weak point sight damage on the blue mod due to the way that the weapon is crafted. Technically, this could actually get even stronger, and you could potentially get this up another 30% due to the fact that that blue mod is not leveled up. I do believe once that blue mod is completely maxed out, it offers a 35% boost to crit damage or weak point damage, and it equates to a 170% boost. Now, if you stack that on top of Sharon, you can actually get that up to 370% boost to weak point damage. Now, if you did not want to go this route and you didn't actually have to put on the blue weak point mod, especially because you don't have it leveled up anyways, you could turn that into a crit rate mod instead to just have the overall general damage output. But if you just want that maximum crit, you're trying to hit that highest number, those are the mods you would have to put on. Now for my second build, this is more for mobbing or running through missions. The reason for this is because you can spam the weapon and you're not going to see very much recoil at all from it, but you're still going to be able to crit for about 1.5 million to 2.5 million depending on your build. So this build here is just for general mission running or for trying to clear out mobs. As you can see, the overall DPS is a bit higher at 343k. Now you're not going to be able to do as much damage per bullet as the first build I showed you, and that is because of the weak point damage stacking up. But what you will be able to do with this build is you're going to be able to clear out mobs and finish out those missions a lot faster. The reason mostly why is due to the payout mod. We switched out the weak point mod for payout, and what payout does, it says when landing a fire arm weak point attack, rounds are not consumed for 3 seconds. So I kind of like this one a bit better. Obviously, like I said, just for mob clearing and sometimes even in the boss fights, just because you don't have to reload as much, you can get that stacked up. The only downside to that is that there is a cooldown, and you can still do about 1.5 mil per crit, which is just about enough to take out almost any enemy in the game in about 1 or 2 shots. So overall, there's a lot of times you're not going to need all of that extra damage. So overall, this is actually my new favorite weapon in the game. Since leveling it up after about 2 or 3 crystallization catalysts, I haven't really taken it off. I find myself running these 3 weapons now: the Perforator, the Clairvoyance, and then my third weapon is sort of just interchangeable. I can put on a sniper, a launcher, a shotgun, just depends on the mission I'm going into. But overall, Perforator and Clairvoyance has actually been my go-to. I think it's an extremely good combo. You can freeze people up with Clairvoyance, you can switch over to Perforator and hit their weak points, stacking up that damage. It's honestly one of the most fun builds I think there is in the game, at least for my playstyle right now. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.